this super Congress that they're having in the United States right now that Obama set up is a meeting of 6 Democrats and 6 Republicans from the House. And this super Congress basically is going to discuss how to end this deficit crisis that we have in the United States. Even though there are very, very, very many ways to create a more better analysis of this whole situation, this debt crisis, and everything else like that, we have to figure out what things to cut. Now, you may think that cutting certain programs might be a good idea, but it depends on which programs that we're cutting. And it seems like we're actually looking forward to cutting Social Security, healthcare, Medicare, um, food stamps, college loans, and everything else like that. It's all that stuff, that basic human right of things that poor people and sick people and old people cannot generally afford. Except for the Social Security, which is actually a self sustaining program that was paid by old people in order to get what they needed when they retire. Now, what this is like a basic slap in the face to the everyday American. And taxes are not going to be increased on the middle class or the rich. So there's not going to be any revenue. Instead, there's going to be a downgrade and human health and human rights and everything else like that because these systems are cut. And why are they doing this? Well, the reason why is because they want to make it so that the deficit is lower. While this may be a way to have a short term fix, this would eventually lead to a long term disparity between the classes of the rich and the poor. The gap between the rich and the poor is getting larger and larger, and we are becoming quickly a corporatist society where the poor people and the middle class are going to become poor and the middle class is going to be totally eliminated. And therefore, the whole entire United States economy will be totally dependent upon the rich people. And the rich people will only buy the things that they want. Rich people can come in and then they can say, well, you poor people, we want this. So they don't even have to buy anything. They could just make it. They can give us jobs, but not jobs that are sufficient enough to um, fit our needs. No, they can put us in like these little camps and they can give us pennies on the hour. And what is this going to do to our psyche? This is going to make us into slaves, basically. It's slave labor because this 7.15 an hour, which is basically the minimum wage for the United States right now, might be 7.50. The dollar is inflating, so we're basically going to be working for nothing, and we're going to be slaves to the economy. But is this going to do any good? Is this going to do a trickle down economy in any way, sort of fashion? No, it won't. But the thing is that what we have to do is we have to figure out how to actually help the middle class and help those people that actually buy the things from the corporations and stuff. And what we need to do is we need to go back in time and we need to find a time that we were in this sort of crisis before. Yes, the economic crash of 1929 basically lays out a framework to how we had to deal with the situation. The thing is not cutting more, the thing is actually spending more, investing more. We may have a deficit, but this deficit sure will be lower if we invest more in the people that have no jobs and everything else like that. Because why do we have no jobs? It's because these corporations and everything won't give us jobs here, so they ship it overseas because it is cheaper to make people work overseas than it is to over here. Because they are still within the law, because they don't have to pay as much to people overseas because there's no minimum wage that is restricted by the United States overseas. They're allowed to do that, and they're allowed to gain more capital. But if we had social welfare programs increased, then we would have the rich, then we would have the middle class prospering more, therefore being able to buy more stuff and therefore pumping more money into the economy. And what happens is that the number one thing that we have to do is we have to work on infrastructure. And once we work on infrastructure, we will have a set amount of projects for people to do. And this will create jobs for the middle class. And the middle class will make make the infrastructure for the United States, and therefore build up not only our economy, but our whole entire United States transportation center and our energy resources and everything else like that. Maybe look at make the United States cleaner, and maybe make it more of a tourist attraction. Therefore, if the United States is even more of a tourist attraction, maybe we'll have more people come here in the United States and visit the United States. This will give a revenue for the United States. And then all we have to do is tax the rich more money, and especially the corporations. Strip the corporations of any corporate personhood, because they already have a stranglehold on our democracy, and therefore our economy will dip lower and lower, but shoot straight back up because we have what we need. And one last thing, in order to get rid of the deficit that we have right now, all we have to do is put a 1% tax increase on the federal, and we will call it the federal deficit sales tax, which will basically, every single transaction on the dollar will have a 1% sales increase, basically meaning that there's only one more penny that you have to pay towards goods and services that goes directly to the government, and each and every penny that goes towards goods and services that goes directly to the government will indeed help shrink the deficit that we have now. And remember that we have to keep the debt ceiling to the most point where we do not default, because if we default, we are in trouble, and therefore it would eventually cause a giant spiral down, even more than what we have right now. Instead of getting an AAA credit rating from the S&P market to an AA plus credit rating to the S&P market within the matter of a month, it will probably go down to an AAA to C, maybe. I don't even know the credit ratings, but as far as I know, it will do much worse, and then the United States economy will no longer be the central economy of the world, but it would probably be something else, maybe in India or China, because as you see, all of the power of the world is shifting from the Western world to the Eastern world. Far Eastern, as in China, Japan, and Korea.